my skin in my wrist, they'll catch my skin and it like feels so stabs me.
All right, let me get my computer on. Oh.
Glad weather.
Weather?
Yeah, absolutely good. All right, I'm gonna mute.
Oh, these socks.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited for this Zoom and all the value that you're going to bring to the agents.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started, I just wanted to hop on and make sure we're good to go. We feel good. I mean, I have the notes from our conversation last week. I have some other questions that you wouldn't have any trouble at all answering, just in case we get through everything here. But I plan to really just start on obviously having you introduce yourself, how long you've been in the business, all that fun stuff. Hi, Brad. Thank you.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I'll be in the background letting people in and stuff. So
Yes, he'll be helping with letting people in and checking the chat.
Sounds good.
So then, kind of one of the first things after you introduce yourself, I want to ask, you had said you felt really defeated when you started in real estate and it was a little bit harder, a lot harder than what you thought it would be. So I'll probably start on that, get you to elaborate, explain, and then really getting into 80% of your closed volume comes from YouTube and referrals. So like if somebody was looking to start their YouTube journey, and then obviously how you were able to service all those leads and get them to come back and give you referrals. So that's kind of the flow and the vibe. If there's another question I think of based on something you say, I might ask that, but that's what I have so far. And then just a few other things, like what's one piece of advice you wish somebody gave you in your first year, or if you could leave our agents with one challenge or focus this month, what would it be? And I will say, if you can't see from the purple tablecloths and behind Brad, we do have bold starting on Thursday. So we really want to do a big push. I'll probably ask about that because we need to have some of these agents in bold.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right, amazing. And I did make you co-host. Brad will monitor the chat and let everybody in. So don't feel obligated to do that. But I know sometimes being co-host, it can highlight you better if you're going to be presenting. So do you have any questions or concerns for us?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how to make it not look like this is crooked behind me. Sorry, it's bothering me.
That's when you figure out those little things, huh?
Yeah, I am not in my normal place. So,
Oh,
well,
gotcha.
we'll have to live with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we roll with the punches.
Yes.
For sure. So you're in Georgia, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So North Metro Atlanta, technically in Beaufort, Georgia, which is where our market center is.
Okay, gotcha. And one question I didn't, Rebecca may have asked it, but I totally did not write it down. How many units did you do? I mean, in your entire real estate career, just in the past year, whatever answer you want to give for that.
Let's see, 50 last
Units.
year, and we have that many pending and closed this year. So
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
we're up compared to last year.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on that. So
Thank you.
that's awesome. Okay, so have that pending slash closed this year already. Wow. And then how many people? So it's you and how many admin, buyers agents? How many?
One buyer's agent, two virtual assistants, like an ISA that really is just handling the YouTube leads.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. YouTube leads. Cool. Okay, perfect. All right, we are a couple minutes. Thanks for the reminder, Brad.
I got you.
He always gets me on how fast I talk, and he's like,
Oh.
Kennedy, some people cannot understand what you say. Like my brain cannot comprehend. So it's a good
No, I'm
reminder
good.
to
I
slow
get
down.
annoyed with slow talkers. That drives me crazy.
Same. I watched a previous one of these, Real Talk with Top Talent, just to see the vibe and the flow of it, and make sure I'm gonna hit the mark on it. And I put it in 2x speed because I was like, I can't. No offense to Rebecca or whoever the other agent was, but my brain goes so fast, I have to remember to slow down. And Brad's like, Kennedy, I didn't catch a word you said, so I have to remember to do that. I'm
Yeah.
guilty. Guilty as charged, Brad. Appreciate that. I'm excited about this though. And then we'll do a Q&A. I don't know if I mentioned this. Q&A around 12, not 12, 1:45, 1:50-ish.
Okay.
And questions in the chat. Brad will be monitoring those because Brad, you'll have to monitor those because I'm far away. So maybe then you can come off mute and say, hey guys, here are the questions. Appreciate you. And if I see a question or Brad sees a question and it really ties into like what we're talking about at that specific moment, then maybe we could pop in and answer it. But I don't want too many interruptions. We'll probably save them mostly for the end.
Okay.
That's the plan. Okay. Is anyone in the waiting room yet?
Not yet. Abby's about to get on.
Okay. No worries. I mean, we're still a couple minutes out, so we'll let everyone get on and then get started. How's the weather up there for you guys? Is it just as hot as it is down here?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We're going through a heat wave, I guess. Mid 90s. It just hot.
Hot. I just got back from out west. And it's so crazy because it's like a different heat than Florida. It's still hot. I actually saw a thing. It was like you burn alive out there and you boil alive in Florida. And I was like, that's the best description I've ever heard of like a dry versus a wet, humid heat.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, it was intense. I got like sun poisoning from because it's like 109 like out there. Plus,
Right.
Who knows what it feels like with the temperature and the sun. And we were hiking the whole time, which was so much fun.
That's too much.
So yeah, I got like sun poisoning. My scalp was like peeling. My nose was peeling. Not that fun, but it's been hot like everywhere. I mean, Florida was going through a heat wave when I was out west, and it was like 100 and some. And then you just feel like it's your skin and like the air is like suffocating you. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we got a minute till, and if people take their time getting on, I know it's a Friday, so we'll give them a couple minutes to get on. But then we want to be respectful of your time and ours, and we'll get started then. But we'll let some people trickle on in.
Sounds good.
No way, fast in there.
When do kids start back school down there?
Ooh, good question. Brad, do you know when school starts?
In the next 2 and 3 weeks,
Yep, I
depending
was
on
about to say.
grade.
Okay,
Thanks,
so
Brad.
here schools start back like either today or next week.
So I think preschools for like the VPK and all that start back in 2 weeks, and then middle school, all that, they start usually they're on the 3rd week of August. They start
Okay.
like on a Tuesday and Wednesday, which makes no sense, but
I
Yeah,
know.
it makes no sense to start here on a Friday. So
That is even more bizarre. I mean, I
Yeah.
get not wanting to
Then
start on
drop your
Mondays.
stuff off and
Mondays
leave.
are yucky.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't have kids, so I have no idea when school starts.
We're
I
still
only
trying
know.
to find Kennedy a man.
A what?
A man.
Retweet. Retweet.
Are you want me to let Ashley in and we can start and once they fill in?
You're showing your age with that retweet comment, Kennedy.
I know, like Twitter, what even is that anymore? X? Do we
Oh,
want to
I was
wait
think-
as a couple?
I was thinking because you're young, because no one says retweet.
Yeah, I did grow up in Twitter. Like Twitter was like, I grew up where there was a Twitter account. Ours was called okay. Ours was called Roast Gang, and they would like reveal tea about everybody, and then it was a whole scandal in school, like who's the owner of this account. Yeah. So I'm pretty well versed in Twitter, I would say. Now it's X. All right, we're gonna start letting everybody in. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Well, a few more people get on. Hi, Faith. And then we will get started.
So while we're waiting, Sarah, I'm sure you might go over it, but what is the average days on market where you're at?
Good question.
Yes, we're about 30 days on market. Some areas are a little bit shorter. Some are a little bit longer.
Do you see a difference with price point?
Yes, obviously the more affordable homes, there's a lot more demand for them. And we're seeing houses that are not move-in ready, need a little bit of work. Those homes are sitting a lot longer on the market versus, homes that are priced well and move-in ready. Those are the ones that are moving fairly quickly. So it's a little bit of a mixed market here. Are y'all seeing the same thing?
Mhm.
Pricing conditions just so important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right. I think we are going to go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, including Sarah's. So today is Real Talk with Top Talent. We are so excited to have Sarah Maslowski with us. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us. We're really excited for the value that we know you're going to provide and bring to our agents. So let's start off. If you want to give us a couple minute synopsis of where you live, on your business, how long you've been in the business, why you got into real estate, all that fun stuff. If you don't mind telling us, give us a little introduction.
Yeah, so I am located in North Metro Atlanta area, so about an hour outside of Atlanta, and kind of cover a big territory up here. Um, I originally went to school for marketing, and at the time we were living in small town South Georgia. So my job prospects right out of college were not that great. I also graduated at the height of the recession, so in 2007, um, and I got laid off from my first two marketing jobs right out of college. And so at the time, the town that I was living in needed teachers, and so they would hire you to be a teacher if you had a 4-year degree. So I felt like that was like an easy pathway into having a steady, stable career. And so went into teaching, and we moved around quite a bit for my husband's job. And so every time we moved, every couple of years, I just kept teaching because it was felt safe, comfortable. And it wasn't until we moved up here to the Metro Atlanta area. Um, I got a job teaching. It was at a high school, and it was I just found myself just completely unfulfilled and looking at the next, part of my career and wondering like, how did I end up here? Like, this is not what I enjoy. I can't imagine, doing this for another 20 years. And so it was at that point that I was like, I have to find my exit path out of this. So I started researching other careers, looking back into marketing. I actually went and worked at a marketing company for, I say I worked, I interned as like a 30-year-old intern, worked for free over the summer because I felt like I needed that experience on my resume so that I could get a marketing job after I quit teaching. And it was at the end of that internship I found out how much the people made. And I was like, what? I am not, this is not worth it. I was horrified. I probably should have asked that question first before I did the internship. But it was good in the fact that it forced me to seek other alternatives and started reading a lot of self-help books. And it was like, what's that one job that you could do or that you would want to do if money weren't, an issue? And for me, that was real estate because we had moved around quite a bit and we had always bought and sold. And I thought every time we went through the process, I was like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. And joke's on me because we all know it's not easy. So I was terrified though, because I had never worked in a strictly commission-based job. I'd always had like that safety net of a W-2. So I didn't really ever consider this as a real option. And it wasn't until all the other options just looked so bleak that I was like, you know what? I feel like if I try hard enough, I can at least replace my teacher income and I would be happier. So in 2018, I left teaching, went straight into real estate, joined a team, and hit the ground running. I say running, a lot of stumbling and, trips and failures along the way. And that's when I found out that real estate is not easy. And it's not just hosting an open house and, having people want to work with you. I remember distinctly taking Ignite at night because I was, still teaching at the time and wanted to get all the things going and sitting in the lead generation class. And it was the instructor was saying, it's really all about how many people you know and how many conversations you are having. And for me, that was like a huge oh shit moment because I was like, I don't know that many people and I'm not very extroverted. I just kind of go to work at the school and I go home and we've only lived here for a couple of years. And so I don't know anybody. And so for me, that was like, oh, how am I going to make this work? And, what's going to happen? So that was my entry into real estate. But had enough motivation to not want to go back to teaching that I was bound and determined to make it work.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. One of the things that you said in our call last week that I really wanted to touch on, it kind of tied into some of what you just said. When you first started, that feeling, it was a little defeating, I think is the word that you used. Because when you got into real estate, you maybe didn't expect or didn't think that it would be a certain way, and it was. So could you elaborate a little bit on that and how you kind of got out of that rut of finding kind of who you were, not only as a person, but as a realtor in a new
Yeah.
area where you didn't know anybody?
Yeah. So the first year in real estate, first couple of years, to be honest, was just incredibly rough. So I was bound and determined to make this work. Shortly after I left teaching, my husband came to me and said that he wanted to leave his W-2 job. And that was terrifying to me because I was like, no, 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 like this was not in the plan. Like we have your safety net of your W-2 job to fall back on. Mine's just kind of like extra. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I can't tell him to not go pursue what he wants if I'm doing the exact same thing. So there quickly became like a real pressure of this has to work and you have to make money. And it was that prospect of realizing that I didn't know that many people. And so I was really going to have to hustle my way through this to get business. And so I was hosting a lot of open houses. I was calling expireds. I was door knocking, circle prospecting, like you name it, I was trying it and I was doing it with a lot of success and a lot of failures. I just remember, feeling all the time like I'm doing all the right things, but nothing is working out for me. And I made a huge mistake. And what am I doing? I mean, those first 6 months, I must have cried, I don't know, like all the time. And I remember my husband being like, this isn't worth it. Go back to teaching. And I was like, no, because even that felt like even more of a failure, right? Um, and so thankfully I had, some really great mentors and agents within KW that helped me see that this is just part of the process. And I really feel like that first year in real estate was so important to me because I thought I was a strong person and could handle a lot going into real estate. But what I learned is that I wasn't very emotionally tough and dealing with the deals that fall apart, right? So I remember one particular deal falling apart and it was my only deal that I had under contract. And it really rocked my whole world. And I remember just like wallowing and in that, you know, pain and lamenting the fact that this didn't work out and crying and like I did all the right things. And um but having really great mentors kind of push me through and say, get over it. Like this happens in real estate. This is just part of it. And you feel this immense pain because that's the only thing you have under contract. But once you have five, six, seven deals under contract, if one falls through, you got to, focus on everything else. So uh, it was really building that emotional resiliency and learning the lessons that you just have to learn in real estate.
Mhm.
And I think that's the hardest part that it's hard to teach because you can't really teach. It's like one of those things where you just have to go through it, but you don't know how you're going to react or handle things emotionally until you do go through those things. And 6, 7 years later, I'm much better at it today, but yet, it still gets the best of us sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting through that. So what I'm hearing from that, because you had said you had a lot of people in your corner that were able to encourage you, that were able to tell you this is normal. It's okay to kind of go through ups and downs. So I think that's the importance of coming into the office, being surrounded by people, iron sharpens iron. So being around people that can tell you, hey, I went through the exact same thing. Here's how I got through it. So what encouragement would you give right now to any agent that could be on this call, that could be in a same mindset or situation that you were in? What encouragement or advice would you give them at this point?
I think the biggest step of success in real estate is treating this like a 9 to 5, in the
Absolutely.
sense that you need to be showing up every single day working on your business. And it is just so tempting and so easy to take the long lunch, find yourself, shopping at Target afterwards, running the errand, and then like, oh, the day's gotten away from me, might as well go home and start doing XYZ. And before you know it, you string some of those days together, and then you haven't really lead generated in days, and that turns into weeks. So, um, because I had that huge amount of pressure to make money, I was terrified of taking a day off. And so, Monday through Friday, I was here at the office, I was on the phones and, you know, feeling like I was doing something to move myself forward. But being around other real estate agents that you can lean on and talk to them, I think that's a huge thing. Like you just have to share your experience and seek out the advice of others. Um, I would not have been able to get through my first couple of years in real estate had it not been the other great KW agents. I mean, I would call anybody and everybody to say like, hey, how would you handle this? Or have you ever encountered this problem? And they're like, no, I haven't, but here's how I would work through this. And I just think there's just so much knowledge that you gain. Um, I remember feeling like the successful real estate agents that I looked up to just automatically had this confidence, and that's what made them successful. I didn't realize that it was like going through all these trials and tribulations and reps of building that confidence. Like you have to go through it. And I think bold is something that really taught me that.
Absolutely.
I did take bold my very first year in the fall that it was available. And that was something that really forced me way out of my comfort zone. But it puts you in a super supportive environment, and it's so encouraging. Um, and that was something that I felt like that was really instrumental in giving me the tools to call expireds and know how to handle objections and have someone to practice that with was invaluable to help me in that process. I also want to share this that I think maybe agents might find helpful is that
Please do.
um, I quickly got a coach. And that was a huge, scary investment for me because you're new, you're struggling to make ends meet and get things going. But all of the successful agents in my market all had a coach. And the great thing about KW is that we give other agents like the exact roadmap and tool toolbox, of exactly how to do things. And all you have to do is just find someone that you want to copy and then just literally copy everything they do. So I saw all these great successful agents in my office and they all had something in common, and that was the fact that they had a coach. And so I was like, well, if they do it, then I'm going to do it because I want to be just as successful as they are. And it was that first coach that I had, and I remember crying, saying, everything's falling apart. I'm doing all the right things. I'm showing up every single day. I'm making my calls, doing my touches. And, I just feel defeated. And he told me, he said, Sarah, he said, your first few years in real estate are going to be the absolute hardest. You just have to get through the first couple of years. And the reason for that is that you're building up your database, you're building up your pipeline, you're building up your confidence, your skills, your ability to talk to people. And it just takes time to get all that together. And so for me, it was good knowing that like I was just going through the hard part and I just had to hang on and get through it. And it's so funny because 6 years later, here I am, and I just got a phone call yesterday from someone that I helped 6 years ago saying, hey, I want to list my house. Come meet with me. And I just remember thinking, like, gosh, I just would have killed for this type of business. And it brought me back to what my coach told me is that this is the benefits that you get of staying in this business for so long, is that now you're getting these come list me and these easy deals that you're not having to hustle for and grind, but it takes time. Like you just have to put in the time to get to reap the rewards of all of those years of hustling, if you don't have that big network in the beginning. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. And that actually ties right into my next question. You shared with me and on this call that when you moved to where you currently are, you kind of moved around. So you didn't really have a sphere. You didn't really have a database. You weren't raised in the area. You didn't know many people at all. And you still became a very successful agent through that. There's no secret. We live in Florida. We have a lot of snowbirds. We have a lot of people that retire down here. And they also don't have a database. So what encouragement would you give? What advice would you give? Because now you've grown your business. Let's say you have one buyer's agent on your team, you have two VAs, an ISA that focuses on your YouTube leads, which we'll get into, and I'm sure ties into your answer to this question. And you sold 50 units last year, and this year at this time in the year, you have that many that have already closed or are pending. So congratulations on that first and foremost, because that is an incredible accomplishment. So what advice would you give to agents that are experiencing the same thing you are, not knowing anybody in this area and wondering if they could achieve your level of success?
Yeah, great question. And so for me, it was being in that Ignite class, realizing I've got to quickly grow my database to 200 people, and I need people to have conversations with every single week. Um, Especially being in bold, like how do you have 100 conversations with people when I don't even have 100 people, in my
Yep.
phone that I could call. So it was understanding and accepting the fact that my path to success was going to have to be through cold calling and open houses and just jumping at every opportunity that I could, signing up for volunteer organizations, putting myself in situations that was forcing me to meet new people. And I'll be honest with y'all, that's not my natural instinct. It's not what I like to do. But I was terrified of going back to teaching and I was terrified of not making money. So I felt like, okay, I'm going to do this until I don't have to do this. I think Gary Keller said at the beginning, like you just have to do the things that you maybe don't want to do until one day you don't have to do it. And so I definitely took that approach to my business the first couple of years. And I was trying anything and everything, trying to kind of like find the one thing that was going to stick with me, or I was like, just fell in love with in terms of lead generation. Um, and it was in that process of going through, all of those things that I kept hearing like, hey, you need to incorporate video into your marketing. And this was way back. I'm going to take you all to like 2019, 2020, when it was just Facebook and Instagram was just photos. And so, and then, obviously YouTube's around. So I was posting these videos on Facebook and I was posting them on YouTube. And these were just like general buyer information videos or tips to sell your house videos or interviewing a local business owner. And, um, I was sporadically trying these things and just really felt like I was trying it, but nothing was working. Like I was not getting any leads whatsoever, or people reaching out to me. And so, again, not really knowing what I was doing, but I came across a group of real estate agents and they were having success on YouTube. And I'm sure y'all are like me. Whenever another agent tells you that they're having success with something, you're like, show me the proof, or you're like, researching online to see, are they really able to back up what they claim. And I went to their YouTube pages and saw their videos. And what I noticed was that they were like drastically different than the type of content that I was posting on there. So my page was like a listing video, interviewing the local taco restaurant owner, how to save money on property taxes. And their channels was just all relocation based of like, here's how great it is to live in our area. Let me show you the best neighborhoods in Orlando. Let me show you why some people choose to live here versus here. Or if you're commuting and you need to work in this city, these are the best, easiest commuter friendly areas to live. And they did not have any, they weren't talking to the taco owner and they weren't having their listing videos on there. So that clicked with me and I realized like, oh, okay, like here's a roadmap. Here's something that I can copy and here's an exact strategy. And if I'm going to try to put effort into making videos, here's a roadmap of what's actually working and getting business. So in 2020, I started doing that. And keep in mind, still doing all the other things. And that's the one message that I want to get across here is that you still have to continue to lead generate because it is so easy to get enamored and wrapped up in some new great idea and then it consumes all of your time and before you know it you've ignored everything else and then you don't have any business. So um, I started making YouTube content in 2020. My coach at the time told me, he was like, you're doing what? And I was like, yeah, I think this is going to work. I have some other agents that are having success. And he was like, okay, whatever. And it was just like a little blip on the radar in terms of our coaching conversations. What's funny is that years later, I've now coached him on growing his YouTube channel. And he now gets leads and closes business directly from YouTube. So the turntables have turned. But it was in 2020 when I started doing this, and it has done wonders for my business. So now I no longer cold call or host open houses or circle prospect. My business has transitioned over the past couple of years so that now 80% of my business comes directly from making these YouTube videos. And, it's just people calling up saying, hey, we're thinking about making a move to the area, or we're moving and we're going to be here in a couple of weeks and we need to find a house. And so that's been, so much fun and just drastically different than what I thought my career in real estate was going to look like. But it is definitely a great way to go about lead generating. So my lead generation now just looks like making a video every single week that gets posted on YouTube and working with my sphere, making sure, newsletters are going out and 36 touch things are happening, but really it's more of like an attraction based marketing where I'm just kind of sitting back, waiting for the people to come in based off of the efforts of the videos and things like that that are doing the heavy lifting.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you had to kind of get through that beginning rough phase to be able to have the leads coming back to you. You said 80% of your closed volume right now comes from YouTube and now referrals, which again, you can't just sit back. People aren't going to come to you. It's that constant work and providing them value. And once you do that by your YouTube videos and showing them this is why you should relocate here. Here, I'm an expert on the area. That makes you attractive to them. So if somebody was looking to enhance their YouTube presence or maybe start this, because like you said, if you see an agent and you see that they're doing something that I could do that, or that's a great idea, then they could kind of mirror some of the things you're doing and having success in. So if somebody was wanting to enhance their YouTube presence, what advice would you give them? I know you said a lot of your content is on relocation, but how do you get, do you time block? On Thursday at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna do my video. I post once a week. So what's the medium, the mode that you do your YouTube, get your ideas and stuff like that?
Sure. Um, so it's simple, but it's hard in the fact that it's one video a week. And so this video typically is between 8 to 10 minutes long. And initially, whenever I tell other agents that, they're like, God, that's a really long time. But if you think about it, if you really answer someone's question, it's not that long. And so it was really easy to get these ideas in the beginning because all I had to do was just go look at other people's channels. And so these other agents that were having success, and if they made a video of the pros and cons of living in their town, well, I just took that idea and inserted the information for my town and made that exact same video. And so the great thing about this or any other form of lead generation, like there's roadmaps out there and people for you to mimic and follow. It's just having the discipline to do it day after day and give it that time to plant those seeds and give those seeds time to grow. So the key is one YouTube video a week. I learned that from these other agents. And the key to that is that you're teaching the YouTube algorithm that you are a consistent content provider. So they can then promote your channel to people to actually watch because they know that next week they're going to be able to put your channel back in front of those exact same people and hit them with a brand new video for them to watch. And so you have to do one every single week. And that is key to this. And so if you're going to get started or you think this is a good idea, but you can't commit to doing a video every single week, don't do it because it's not going to work. And you're going to look up, 4 videos later and be like, why isn't this working? So that's key number one. Number two is that you are just simply giving people information about what it's like to live there. It's not salesy. You're not having to sell people on why they should move there. You're just being the information provider for them. So you have to remember that YouTube is a search engine and it's owned by Google. So whenever people are searching for information about where they're moving to, not only are they searching in Google, but they're also searching in YouTube. And if they're not searching in YouTube, your YouTube videos are then popping up in those Google search results. A new great thing that's just happened over the past couple of months is that now those same videos are being resourced and analyzed for AI answers. So now you're also showing up in AI search results because they love having that video content to pull from. So that's how people are finding you, just through natural searches. None of this is paid ads or anything of that sort. It's all just natural, organic views. And so because of that, it does take a little while in the beginning to grow your subscribers or grow the people that are actually watching your videos because YouTube is trying to figure out like, are you someone that's going to consistently put out videos? And they're trying to figure out like who's actually watching these videos. And so once YouTube gets that information of who's watching these videos, then they're putting that video in front of Sally, who logs onto their computer the next day, who's behaving kind of similar to how Mary just acted on their website. And they're seeing like, does Sally want to watch the same thing that Mary just watched? And so it's getting all of that great data and information. So YouTube is finding the people that want to watch your videos. That is why you do not have to go viral. You don't need thousands and thousands of views on your video. You just need the right people to watch your video. And so sometimes we have a fear of that if we go too super niche in the information that we're providing, that we're missing out on other people. And you have to keep in mind that for those people that are seeking out that information, if you're one of the few that's doing that, then you become like the expert, all-knowing authority in that area and someone that they can trust because nobody else is doing it. So, the competition for this type of lead is pretty low. And if you're in an area where you do have other people making content like this, that's okay. So when I first got started, I was kind of like the only agent in my area making content. Now, if you went and searched my area, there's probably 4 or 5 other agents making content. The great thing is that there's enough business out there for everybody. There are
Absolutely.
tons of people that are constantly moving, and your personality type is not going to be for everybody, and that's okay, right? You're going to attract the right people that want to work with you. One of the things that really helped me in the beginning when I went and saw those other agents that were having success, I went and watched some of their videos, and I'll be honest with you, like some of their videos were incredibly boring
Yeah.
and their personality. I was like, really? People are buying houses from this person? Um, and I'm sure like, that's very judgmental of me, but it's very honest, right? And but it gave me inspiration because I was like, okay, like if they can do this, I don't have to be some newscaster that shows up or some HGTV host. All I have to do is just show up and give the information in a nice, friendly way, and it's supposed to work. And so that really gave me the encouragement to have the ability to go out there and do this because if they could do it, so could I. Uh,
Absolutely.
so that's important to know. Like you're never gonna like yourself on camera. That's just something like you have to get over. You're never gonna like the way you sound. Even after doing this for years, I cringe when I hear my voice, from a video that accidentally starts playing that I can't click out of it fast enough. And that's just part of the process. And so it's like you have to decide if you're going to get over it and, enjoy all the closings that can come from this, or if you want to give into that and not,
Mm.
pursue that. So that's important. It is amazing to me how many clients will whenever they reach out to you, they're not just watching one of your videos and calling. So oftentimes one of the questions I get are like, what are the best types of videos to make? Or what's the one video that you made that gave you the most amount of leads? And the reason that's hard to answer is because they're not just watching one video. Oftentimes they've been watching your content for months. And that's why it's important that you're super consistent. Because again, you're just reinforcing the fact that you're the expert in the area. And you are building up such incredible trust with these people before they even reach out to you. I remember the first time a client said to me, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting the opportunity to talk with you. We are so excited. We cannot wait to meet you." And I was like, "What?" Like, wait till I tell my husband this. Um, but just because it was just so funny to me that they're viewing you as if you are someone on TV. And I'm like, I'm just a real estate agent trying to get business. So it's funny, just kind of like your view or what other clients' view may have of you throughout this process. But it speaks to you are building way more trust and authority with these people than what you could ever imagine just by simply being yourself and being the local insider that's telling them the good and the bad things about moving to your area. So you really want to make sure that you're not just showing off all the pretty things. What they say in media is true, negativity sells. And so negative videos or headlines or tend to be some of the most clickbaity that really get a lot of views. But you want to make sure that you really deliver on that promise. So if I'm telling you 5 reasons why you would never want to live in Gainesville, Georgia, I'm telling you that we have a big chicken processing manufacturing facilities here. And if you don't want to see chickens and chicken trucks drive down the street, this may not be the place for you, or if you don't occasionally want to smell chicken stuff, this
Yeah.
might be the place for you. So people appreciate that because again, it just builds that authority and trust. Um, I will say that kind of like the one drawback to this legion strategy is that you are going to have an edited kind of polished video for the most part. And the polishing part kind of comes in like if I'm telling you about the chicken trucks or how chicken manufacturing is one of the biggest um, job sectors in my area, like you're seeing some visuals of that, right? So you're putting that what's called B-roll into the actual videos. You're going to want to have an editor for that. And so at the very beginning, I was my editor. And, you know, it was trying to edit a video at 11:30 at night, tired, wanting to go to bed. And I was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I can't do this every single week. And I knew that you had to post a video every single week. So I was terrified to leverage and pay and hire for that. I hate spending money and I'm always scared because I always think like, oh God, this is such a waste of money, or I don't know if this is going to work. Um, but yes, I quickly realized like if I was going to continue to do this, there's no way I could do it myself. So I highly recommend leveraging out that editor. Sometimes you might have a great young person in your life that's skilled at stuff like that you can get it relatively cheap. There's lots of great internet resources and people that you can ask for recommendations for editors, but you are going to need to leverage that out. Um, and then from there, it's just simply being consistent and continuing to post those videos and giving it time to let everything work out. It will take you between, I would say, 3 to 6 months, depending upon your area and where you're at, to be able to start getting leads. And the way that this works is that your lead flow in the beginning is going to be very slow. So I distinctly remember it was like one call every 3 weeks. And then it became one call every 2 weeks. And then a couple months later, I was like, oh, we're getting a call a week on this. This is amazing. And then it kind of fluctuates from there. And you're like, and the reason for that is because the longer you've been on YouTube, the more content you have out there, the more they can recommend, the more people can sit there and binge watch your content so that you just don't have one video on the town that you're moving to. You've got 10 that they can choose from, and they're going to watch all 10. So those are just some unique things about the strategy of why it kind of compounds over time, and you have to be able to give it that time. And that's why you cannot let your foot off the gas of those other lead generation things that you're doing. So to go back to um, Kennedy's question is that you do need a time block because you can easily let this be all consuming and go down the rabbit hole and you know make a video to perfection, and you just don't have time to do that. So I'm a firm believer in getting a video to it's like 80-85% great, and then I'm going to work on that extra 20% the next time. So we're checking for spelling errors, things like that, just obvious things that should be edited out. And then next time it's like, hey, instead of doing this transition, I like this better. Because it's not worth your time going back and forth 10-15 times with an editor to get something perfect when nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
So that's been my philosophy over time, and it's worked really well, and it has kept my time commitment to the actual filming part fairly easy. And I'm sure maybe the next question, maybe or logical question is like, well, how do you actually film these videos? So I'm a firm believer in doing whatever is easiest for you and works best for you. So when I saw these other agents making this content, they were doing it in all different manners. Some actually had, I would assume, like a videographer. Maybe it was just like a tripod outside, and they were standing in front of like the area that they're talking about. One guy down in Florida, he put a little GoPro thing on his bike and he like bicycled around his neighborhoods and just talked to the GoPro. And so that was fairly low tech. And then there was a lot of agents that just filmed on their phone, kind of talking head style, which is what I'm doing today, where you're just seeing me talk to the camera. And I tried a little bit of everything in the beginning. And what I found that works best for me is the talking head style because I don't have to worry about the outside elements. I don't have to worry about if a school bus is going by, if someone decides that they want to go, cut their grass and blow the leaves off their lawn while you're trying to film a video in their neighborhood. Um, so those are all the things that are like complications of filming in person or like at the actual location. So I can film videos on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock in my basement, and I can knock out 2 or 3 in a row and nobody ever knows, right? So you have the ability to do that whenever you want to. So I like and found that that's what works best for me. Now, recently, we've started working with an in-person videographer now that I have the ability to spend a little bit more money in this area. And y'all, it's so difficult filming in person. Um, it's like a love-hate relationship. Like, yes, the videos look good or they can look good, but I just filmed one Tuesday morning and we're out there at 9:30 in the morning and I'm sweating terribly. The hair's like super frizzy, bugs, falling on you, trash trucks coming by. It just takes so much longer and it's just so much more difficult. For me, it's just not my ideal way of doing it. But you may find that much prefer that and it's much more natural and easy for you. You just have to kind of like find what works for you. Um, but still to this day, if I'm filming myself, it's my iPhone on a tripod in my basement. And I did it that way because that's how the other agents were doing it. But then also, like, I'm not tech savvy and I don't know how to get something from a digital camera to my computer. I don't know how to do SD cards, like all that just feels complicated. So, so the great news is that we all have the ability to make these videos because you already have a camera in your phone. So
Yep.
you don't have to worry about spending money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was so much good information. I know I got some good notes from that. I think the biggest things that jumped out to me was post religiously. It's not something you try for a week and I'm not getting any results, so I'm gonna move on to the next best thing. You said, I think in our and maybe in this as well, 3 to 6 months of consistently posting at least once a week to be able to start seeing results come from that. On top of the best content being relocation tips, but also kind of just seeing what gets the best response and views and interactions online, and also letting chat gpt, word of mouth, do the heavy lifting for you, knowing the algorithms and stuff. And then also don't be critical of yourself. Like, take the video, don't even rewatch it, just post it, upload it. As long as you didn't make a mistake, you're good. Don't even psych yourself out like that, because they think we're our own biggest critic. And nobody else is thinking of the things that we're thinking of. Oh, I look like this, or oh, my hair is crazy, or oh, my shirt's wrinkled. Nobody's thinking of that when they're watching your videos. So the other thing I want to ask, moving from how you get the leads into referrals. So how do you create a standout experience that keeps clients coming back and referring to you?
The great thing is that there isn't anything magical that you do that's not outside of any other lead generation strategy. So once the client comes to you, they are just like any other buyer client. They're going to have a little bit more questions. They're going to have a little bit of extra challenges because oftentimes they're moving from hours or states away. So, it's not as easy in that terms, but for the most part, it's the exact same. And I can't stress enough that once you get that client into your database, you get them closed, to nurture that relationship and really lean on your 36 touch program. Because one of the drawbacks or one of the cons of this lead gen strategy is that 95% of the leads that you work with are going to be buyers. And the reason for that is that that's just the nature of the information that you're providing. It is your local people, buyers and sellers, are not going to YouTube searching what are the best neighborhoods in your town. They already know, or they're asking their neighbor, right? So it makes sense as to why it's only mostly relocation people or people that are like not really familiar with the area. So because of that, I've had a very buyer heavy business the past 5 years. Um, and we're taught, you got to list to last. And that is true. And I can tell you that now my business is starting to change a little bit in the fact that I'm not so buyer heavy, but now some of those clients that I helped move 5 years ago are starting to sell for whatever reason, natural life changes. And so I was adding 50 to 60 people to my database of past clients every single year for the past 5 years. I mean, not that many. It's grown, but at least over the past 2 or 3 years, it's been 50 a year. So, uh, so amazing that you're growing this database, but you got to continue to nurture it, right? Another cool thing about this has been we've had multiple clients who have had multiple family members make the move with them. And so, one person that initially reaches out, then it's like the grandparents move, and then a sister moves. And you are really kind of like the only person they know for a little while in your area. So they have immense trust in you. And, if you're giving them a good experience throughout the process, they're going to be so thankful for you. A lot of clients that have moved here solely just because they discovered this place from my videos. And that's a lot of trust in me. It's a lot of trust in the videos. Um, and and so they tie like their happiness here to being like, oh my God, we're so thankful we found you. And so it's just, continuing to provide that good nurture. Um, it's also really great for agent to agent referrals because I can, as agents are researching local agents in their area to refer to, likely my videos are popping up if they're searching my town. And you just have a little bit more visibility out there online and being the expert in the area. And there's someone that they can put your videos in front of their client and say, hey, here's this great agent I'm referring you to. You can get to know her already or them already, based off of the content they provide.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question, because I do want to give our agents a chance to ask you questions as well. So one last question I have for you, if you could leave our agents with one challenge or one thing to really focus on this month, what would that be and why?
So sometimes I have agents that are watching this and maybe they're thinking like, okay, yes, that sounds great, but I'm never going to show up on video. I'm not going to do it. It's just not for me. Good for you. Other people can do that. I don't want to do it. And looking back on the growth of this Legion pillar for me, I can almost guarantee you that going back 5 years ago in 2020, I could have had the same success with any Legion strategy if I would have put the same energy and effort behind it.
Yep.
So at the time that I started this video journey, I kind of had a talk with myself and I was like, okay, Sarah, before you go chasing this next shiny squirrel, like, are you really going to do this? Or are you just going to give up on it in 4 weeks because it doesn't work? And that's kind of how my business had been, I have if you looked at my lead sources or my business sources, it was all over the place. A couple of closings from open houses, a couple of closings from Facebook ads, but no one lead gen strategy was like really standing out. And that was because my focus was incredibly scattered. I would go to a great class and hear a great idea or see some other agent have success with it. And I'd go try it for a couple of weeks and then have marginal success and then give up and be like, this is too hard. And then on to the next idea or circling back to something else. So when I started video, I made a commitment to myself that I was not going to give up on this for at least 90 days. And that might sound short to you or it might sound long. I don't know. But for me at the time, that felt like I was going to be accomplished if I could stick to this for 3 months. And so I, had that talk with myself that I was going to put my nose down, head down. I was going to keep doing everything else I was doing, but not introduce any other new things to my business outside of this video strategy. And I can guarantee you that if I would have done that with any of the other existing lead gen strategies that I already had, I could be like teaching this class on for sale by owners or teaching this class on expireds. So just, I would strongly encourage you, challenge you to find whatever lead gen strategy you want to become an expert in. Go all in for that strategy for the next 90 days and see who you are and what the outcome is on the other side of that 90 days. And make that commitment no matter what happens, whether you close 0 deals or get 0 leads or it becomes your main thing. I would be curious to kind of see where you're at 3 months from
Yeah.
now.
Absolutely. And so I guess a piece of advice on that, like you goes back to what you said earlier about time blocking. Gary Keller said it best: if it's not on your calendar, then it doesn't exist. So if anybody on this call is wanting to start that, maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's something different. Like Sarah said, it's whatever you want to do, whatever fits to your personality style, whatever you're comfortable with. You can do that time block throughout the next 90 days. If that's your commitment to yourself and to your business, go ahead and put, here's what I'm filming. Here's when I'm looking up content ideas, so on and so forth, because if it's not on your calendar, then it does not exist. So I love that. I want to open up the call now to any questions, ahas, questions for Sarah on anything we've discussed today, or even things we may have not touched on. And then Brad, do we have any questions in the chat or ahas?
So no ahas yet. I'm sure people are typing them in right now. But I actually did have a question. So we are trying to take the world by storm with AI in our market centers. And I'm just curious on how you've been using AI, if you have, and what advice you give with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Still trying to figure it all out. I have found that AI has helped so much incredibly in doing almost all of the heavy lifting of what it comes to preparing for a YouTube video. So one of the things, whenever you're giving information to your clients, is you want to be like very detailed in the information about your area that you're providing. So you can get great inspiration from somebody else's channel, right? Like say they just made a video on the 5 most expensive neighborhoods in this area. You can hop on over to Chat GPT and say, hey, what are the most expensive neighborhoods in my area? Help me write a YouTube script for this. The video should be at least 8 minutes long. And it's going to give you some dang good information. And this is
Mhm.
stuff that used to take us, I say us because I have an assistant that helps with this now, but it would take me hours of sourcing and researching and pulling all of these facts together. I would highly recommend to really use that to do 80% of the work, and then you're going to come in and refine the 20%. So you're going to insert your opinion. You're going to say like, no, that's not really a great neighborhood. Why did it suggest this? So you still want to proofread and do all the things, and you don't necessarily want to use the Chat GPT language because you want it to be authentic and come from you, but it can write a really darn good rough draft for you that you can go in there and make your own. So for us, that's been incredibly helpful. Another way that AI has been incredibly helpful is YouTube thumbnails are so important. So the thumbnail is like the book cover of the video, and that's what YouTube shows people, and then they see if they click on it. That has to be pretty engaging. And so sometimes, you have this idea in your head of like, oh, I would love to have this house on fire. And you go in Canva, and then like an hour later, you're nowhere closer to where everything
So
looks
true.
stupid. So AI now can spit out some really great images. And so then you can kind of take those and use those in Canva. So it's really helped kind of cut down some of the creativity hard work, I guess, or the manpower hours that takes to kind of help come up with some of that stuff. So that's where we've used it. One thing I'm excited about is Mega Camp coming up. They have some AI gurus, and I was on a call and got to hear some of them talk about what they're going to talk about. And he was saying how, video is such a great part of this AI strategy of becoming the person that gets recommended or cited whenever someone asks or is doing research on things because of how the algorithm and how it all works. And I was like, great, we're already doing all of this. I don't need to go make content on why our town is so great to live in or mistakes people make whenever they move to our area because I already have that. It just kind of reinforces that we're a step ahead, and it's getting multiple benefits out of just one thing. Yeah.
I love that. And I think, thank you for answering that. Appreciate it. It's a great answer. And Faith, does it look like you might have a question?
Yes, I do. I can hear my team members' voice over there. Okay. Anyways, I know you said your business is kind of buyer heavy right now. When you do have listings, how do you intermingle or incorporate your listing videographer with your content creator videographer? If you do.
Yeah, great question. So I learned this from Ken Posick in Orlando, is so the cool thing is that whenever I go meet with a seller, I can tell them, look at my YouTube channel. I'm actually proactively searching for buyers that are moving here. And at the end of the day, is that am I really going to find the buyer for them through my YouTube channel? Likely not. But does it set you apart and give you something cool to talk about that no other agent, can come in there in that listening presentation and talk about? Yes. So that's been a great like leverage piece for listing appointments for people that may not be, as familiar with you. The second thing is being able to incorporate your listings into your actual videos. So my lender recently just listed her amazing house in this gorgeous gated neighborhood at a price point that I would never be able to have anybody in my sphere list at this. And so the video was, an inside look at North Georgia's most exclusive gated community. And at the beginning of the video, I'm saying, hey, make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to give you an exclusive sneak peek at the most stunning house in this neighborhood. And that was my listing. And then as I'm showing off that listing, I'm telling, or I'm saying like, this is what we do for our sellers. And so that if someone is local that happens to watch that video, it's reinforcing to them that you're not just a buyer's agent, you are a listing agent, and you can get the same exposure for their home to these people. People are always going to attribute way more ooh and ah about it than what it actually is. But so that's one way. Or if you had like the most affordable home in a certain area of like, say I have another listing that's coming up and it's like 400,000. So I can incorporate that into a video that says, hey, here is what 400,000 gets you in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And then I'm going to say, we're going to go tour a really great home and it's going to be my listing. So if you don't have listings yet, you can easily borrow, from somebody else in your office or marketplace. The tide's turning where most agents now don't turn their nose up at you wanting to promote their or their listings on social media. So that's a way to kind of like leverage it if you don't have that ability just yet.
Love that. And
And
appreciate
and
that.
and, and so I'm having sorry, I think the other part of your question was my current videographer is doing both of that. But I didn't get a videographer until I've tried off and on for the past 2 years. It's rough. Um, but but up and for the most part, for the past 5 years, we've done everything ourselves. And so it's all been on my phone, on a gimbal, walking through the house or getting our own B-roll footage. It doesn't have to be that complicated. You would be shocked and amazed at how easy it is to get some of this footage. And so even if you didn't have a videographer or a listing person, you don't need to pay someone, $500 to come do a listing video for you for your YouTube channel. It can be footage that you capture yourself.
Hey, I'll take $500. I'll keep it. We have one question in the chat from Brian. He said, my question, what video mistake did you make that looking back you've learned from?
Okay, so it took us a while to realize this, but once you commit to this strategy, you're going to be making multiple videos on the area forever and ever, right? So I've been doing this 5 years. I don't know how many videos I've made on my town. And so at the beginning, whenever we were talking about the schools or the shopping, every time we would go out and get the B-roll footage for that week's video. And then it kind of clicked on me. I was like, well, duh, we're going to be making these videos 3 months from now. Might as well go ahead and invest several hours in getting like tons of clips and then
Mhm.
putting that into a Google Drive so that in 2 months from now, when we make another video, we've got like a slightly different clip that we can pull from, and we're not having to go out every single week and get B-roll footage. So that was a huge aha for me. The second aha that I've had along the way is sometimes, you feel like you've said all there is to say. And okay, I've made videos now for 6 months and uh, it's all out there. Like how am I going to think of another video topic for this town? Um, that will happen. And for some reason in my mind, I thought people are watching these videos sequentially, right? And that's not true. So YouTube is just kind of serving up whatever they think is going to be most interesting to that person, not necessarily your most recent video. So they could have watched a video that you made 2 years ago, and that's the very first video that they've ever made or watched. So they don't know that you just made another video about that same topic 2 weeks ago. And that same video is essentially the exact same content, but you've titled it slightly different. So the pros and cons of living in Gainesville, Georgia is essentially the exact same video as 5 reasons I would never move to Gainesville, because those 5 cons are the same 5 reasons. And so you're constantly repeating information. But I have never, ever, ever had a client say, oh, yeah, you beat that to a dead horse, or, like they don't know, like they're not retaining the information in the way that we think about it in our mind. And so it is a constant repurposing, slightly changing the order of things or calling it something a little bit different. But that does kind of make the process a little bit easier, because you can go pull from your old notes or your old outlines and say, okay, yeah, here's the population, or here's, these stats that we can just copy and paste into this week's outline. So that's been helpful for me. And if you're a fan of content like on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, those folks repeat themselves all the dang time, right? And but it's the same concept. You never know what video is going to be someone's first video for you. So you have to repeat the stuff all the time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Any so there's no more questions in the chat. Anybody on Zoom have any more questions? I do have one more. Now, it's not necessarily on YouTube. We mentioned in the very beginning, and plus, since we're having bold shortly here, you mentioned that you took the leap of faith, quit your teaching job. Your hubby was, quitting, his job, going to what he wanted. What would you say to somebody who's afraid to pay the $7.99 to invest in bold?
So if you're like me, sometimes fear can be a big motivator. And so if it is true, if we pay money for something, we are going to be a lot more invested in the outcome and what we're going to get from it. And um, I was just like you, were scared to spend that money because it wasn't, I didn't have the knowledge to know that for sure I was going to get $800 worth of value out of it. Um, but it gave me the script for expired listings. I took an expired listing during that bold session. I could not believe that I walked away with that listing, because I'm like, y'all, I just got my license like 3 months ago. What are you doing? But it just gives you the push and the skills that you need, or to at least grow from, in order to be successful. So if it were me, I would choose to use it as a motivator and look at it as in, how can I get that $800 back? And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that is returned to me. And I promise you, if you go in and you do the activities, you're going to get the results that you want. Same thing is true, though. You can easily go in there and listen to all the good ideas, but if you don't go implement them, then you're clearly you're going to fail. But I have to go back and say this, because I think Kennedy mentioned something about, or said, like, find the lead gen strategy that works for you. You're not going to know what lead gen strategy works for you without failing all the time and staying with it long enough. I was terrified of these YouTube videos at the beginning. It took me a good year to feel somewhat confident in what I was doing. Um, same thing with all the other lead gen strategies. I think it's a false narrative that we're going to do something 1 or 2 times and be like, oh yeah, this is the one for me, and I am good at this, and I naturally kill it with this lead gen strategy. It's just not the case. So just pick what you're willing to keep going and keep failing at until you get better at. I think that's the key. And Bold will push you in that direction and give you the encouragement and the supporting environment that you need in order to execute on that.
I love that. What they say, fail forward.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. This has
Yeah.
been an hour filled of such insightful ideas, tips, tricks, and hearing your successes and your failures. It's really inspiring to us. So thank you so much for taking the time to invest in our agents and bring them value. And thank you to the agents that hopped on to invest in your business. Again, thank you guys and have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, guys. Faith, I will send that out. I will send that out. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Bye.
See ya.